All right, hello, welcome to Adventures in Lollygagging. We are playing One Ring, second edition tonight. We are continuing our Waking of Angmar campaign, and we are playing Hurt a little bit tonight. Melissa and I, as some of you know, we've been hit with the plague. So for the past week or so, we've been off games. COVID finally got us 3 years, and it finally got us. I know Steven's feeling a little under weather as well.
I made it 5 days longer than you, though.
You know, I'm still older and I have more hair. So, ha.
Okay. Low blow.
I know. I felt really bad about it when I said it. So anyhow, we are back. We're gonna be playing tonight. We're very excited because it's episode 48. We're closing in on episode 50. We have some details to share. For some awesome giveaways we're going to be doing for episode 50, which is probably not going to be until the 25th of March is where I think we're going to probably land on. But we're going to start plugging some of that. We're going to get our good friends North Friends are going to help out. We got some folks over at Free Leaguers giving us some goodies that we can give away for One Ring stuff. So we're going to have all sorts of wonderful things popping up over by the end of March when it comes to episode 50. Not necessarily going to have any grand major things happening in the story, but we're going to go ahead and just give stuff away because this game's awesome. You all are awesome. And we want to do what you can to give you some cool things as well. So it's episode 48. It's probably going to be a shorter up tonight. We'll see how long my voice can last. I was in a 2-hour, no, actually, it was like a 4-hour meeting yesterday for work, and like, at a certain point, I was just like, I don't have a voice anymore. I tried to talk and it's just like, oof, wow, that's pretty bad. So we'll see how it goes. But we're largely feeling better. So here we go. TPK 25 per character. Hey, I'm down for that. Let's just get rid of them. Just get rid of them.
No.
And we move on and we play a different game, right? Or do we play our two towers? Because we've joked around and we've called Waking of Angmar our Fellowship of the Ring, and then we have to do this 2 more times, like with our two towers and our Return of the King.
150 episodes confirmed.
Oh my gosh! Can you? Oh geez.
And then we have to do the Hobbit stuff, right?
I'm really. Oh god, we
go back and do prequels.
Prequels after that. Oh god, I have only so much. I do actually have some ideas for other campaigns. So I do think at some point we will do another lengthy campaign. I don't know if it'll be on the immediate heels of this one, but we will definitely be doing more. Not that we're ending anytime soon. We still have several months of One Ring left before I think we hit a point where I think we're ready to step away. So before we do that, why don't we start getting into our character introductions so I can stop talking for a moment and other people can talk. So Long, who are you playing, man?
Yeah, I'm playing Floy, a treasure hunting dwarf. Pretty far down the shadow path these days. Grasping and mistrustful. Still looking for treasure. Classic adventuring stuff.
How far down are you, out of curiosity? Like how many have you taken?
Taking 2 now.
Taking 2? You're halfway down. Okay. Mm-hmm. So in the game, so for those of you who are unfamiliar, we don't really talk about this too much, but we do. So there's the shadow path, where as you accrue shadow points, you can eventually start going down a path and taking on new negative traits, basically is what they are. And what path you're on is kind of tied to your calling. And so the treasure hunter is what's it called? Do you know what it's called, Long? There's a name for each of them. I'm going to ask everybody else about the shadow path.
Dragon sickness.
Is it dragon sickness? Okay.
Yeah.
Because you get obsessed with gold and you get obsessed with treasure and things like that. So yeah. Okay. And that one little thing I told you about before, where you had like the 4th in the tier, you don't have that anymore. Like
that was like flavored or something.
Mm-hmm. There are reasons that might come to light at some point about why that was. Mm-hmm. Okay. Very nice. Thank you. Next up, Ashley, tell us about Gilly Kettlegrass.
I'm playing Gilly Kettlegrass. She's a Bree blooded hobbit. She's a scholar. Her shadow path is Lure of Secrets. And she hasn't gone down it at all. But she does have 3 shadow scars remaining. She did get rid of 1 last Yule. And yeah, that's kind of where we're at. She's still hearing this like creepy crackling noise ever since we were up in Angmar. And it's really starting to haunt her again.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing. A little PTSD, I guess, for Gilly, but also maybe something more. Is it really happening, or is it Gilly just sort of just hearing it? That's the kind of the question right now. Okay.
What is that stuff with your earrings?
Tinnitus.
Tinnitus. Yeah, she's just got tinnitus.
Dude, I would not do that to you. I have tinnitus.
Thank you.
Oh God, I hate it so much. But yeah. It's when you have tinnitus and you go to bed at night, it's rough. You just hear all the sounds at that point, and you're just like, your eyes are wide open, and you're like, oh man. Okay. All right. Next up, Melissa, tell us about Eryniel.
So Eryniel is our Ranger of the North champion. I think I've been trying to age, because I think you're supposed to like age when we do Yules, I think is kind of like when everybody ages. So I think she's now like 23, if I've been doing that correctly. So she's,
we've had 2 Yules. So yeah, that makes sense. Basically 2 years.
A little bit older. So she switched out her trusty snowshoes for a fishing net when we started off on this adventuring phase. So that's what she kind of alternates between, because she does not have enough treasure to have 2 items on her. So she still just has the 1 for more treasure, and she'll actually be able to get a second item. So, there's that.
You do know I've put a lot of treasure into the game. And often on adventures, I put treasure, probably more than I should at times. And then Floyd just takes it all.
Black hole named Floyd.
And everybody's cool with it, apparently. So
and I still take some, but and then I also switched out my sword. I now have a no Zagar Sword of Spirits.
It's fun watching Melissa try to pronounce things I write on handouts for her. It's really good. Okay. Yeah.
You give us like phonetics. So.
I do.
Oh, I didn't even have it open. I was just looking at the.
I spoil. So I put out these items up on Foundry for like the magical items, and if it has a name that isn't clear, like I try to give the pronunciation, or at least how I'm going to be pronouncing it, so that we have consistency. And usually, like there's like a touch, like I have like a little history blurb and all that kind of stuff. Most of them really enjoy it. Steven gives it away to random NPCs. So.
Guilty as charged.
It's true. But then like a year later, you'll make another character who will get that item back. So it's all good.
And I'll still give it away. I just got to find the right person.
You just got to find the right. I'm surprised you didn't give it to your rural Gilly friend when you were wandering through the
should have, yeah.
Oh, your girlfriend?
That would have been great. Oh, too bad. All right. Go ahead and tell us about Daggett too while you're at it.
Daggett, son of Snook, is a dwarven captain. He's got an unruly beard, wild hair, a crooked nose that was broken a few sessions ago. And he is wielding a new axe called Block Fang, something like that. Block Fang, that sounds about right. He got that from Lottie.
Such a troll.
I'm the newest member of the Fellowship, but still the oldest, and I have gone down my shadow path, unlike Gilly.
Which one's yours as the captain?
Lure of Power.
Lure of Power. Okay.
Yeah, so I'll be resentful, arrogant, overconfident, and then tyrannical. So y'all better start doing what I say.
All that checks out, I think. That's perfect.
I don't think that's going to go very well.
Not with Eryniel, that's for sure.
Tyrannical, that is not going to go over well.
Well, if we learned anything, Daggett might want to be tyrannical and take control, but if the travel that we were just on last couple episodes is any indication, this son of a bitch should not be in charge of anything, because dear God, you were failing travel rolls left and right. All right. Shall we do this? You ready?
Let's do it.
All right. So you're headed to Tharbad. That's ultimately where we're headed. You're hoping to recruit Thorvum and Thievi, your old dwarven friends that you first worked with when you went up to Angmar, actually. They were kind of from that dwarven colony south by the Dunlands who were tracking Rotag and Rotag being one of the big early bosses of our campaign, what ended up being an Olag High. And you all allied up with them, you met up with them in Angmar, and you worked together to take down Rotag. You went your separate ways, however. But now that you've lost Marimbed and Talendale, now that you've lost Sorendir, you're looking for reinforcements to try to help you go back to Angmar, finish the quest, the task that you've been given by the Lady Ortolos of Forlon, but also just figure out, is there anything else you can potentially do to help kind of quell this growing threat? So you started traveling out of the Blue Mountains, and it was a slow travel. Part of that was because it was the heat of summer. Part of it was because Daggett sucks at travel rolls, and also because there were several like kind of strange events that started to plague you along the way. Nothing outright hostile, I would say, but certainly strange occurrences started to plague you. It started when you were in the Blue Mountains, when this geyser essentially nearly drowned Floy, and possibly some creature within that geyser stole his shoe, stole his boot. Later, you found this mystery at an isolated farmhouse east of the Blue Mountains. It was a human farm. It was well kept, well managed. It looked like it was the upkeep was recent, but for some reason it was missing its occupants. There were no signs of violence. There was, the fields were active, as if somebody had been tending to them very, very recently. You did find a couple sickly goats in the barn, and also a strange grave dug beneath the floorboards. There was this large flock of black birds that was hiding in the fields and kind of flew away as like this one massive flock eastward once they were discovered. Most of the stay here was fine. However, overnight, Aurinial disappeared. And when Gilly and Daggett were looking around this in the morning, they found first that those goats had been slaughtered. And secondly, they noticed that Aurinial had buried herself, or someone else had buried her in that grave beneath the barn. You didn't really linger at that point. You just got the hell out of there, and you kind of pushed on. So you traveled on for a bit with that kind of incident in the back of your minds. There was some flooding around the streams when you were crossing over the River Loon. I think it was Floy who found this scattered and abandoned collection of toys that in the right light actually bore a striking resemblance to yourselves and people you know. I think Floy almost lost another boot at that point as well. I'm just taking all of his shoes piece by piece. A few days later, southwest of the hills of Evendim, you discovered this massive effigy, this huge scarecrow that was basically the size of a giant. It was in the middle of a meadow. It was atop this old tree stump. There was no actual crop nearby, though, and there was no signs of anyone living within miles and miles and miles of this place. It was just this strange, isolated effigy. But within that meadow, you once more discovered another flock, or maybe the same flock of blackbirds, which just erupted from the field, swarmed you momentarily, kind of knocked over the effigy at one point, and then flew away. You were able to kind of get everybody out okay once more, kept journeying eastward and southward. You eventually made camp along the White Downs, just west of the Shire. There, Floy, you were kind of lured once more by the sound of revelry. You found, again, more hobbit folk, some faces you remember, some faces you might not. You actually even were able to see the face of your fairy wife before your memories kind of got clogged with drink and song and whatnot. Daggett, you befriended a young hobbit woman that we have affectionately, I think, nicknamed Rural Gilly. But I think her name is Millie. Isn't that what we ended up with? I think it was Millie.
Yeah, Millie.
But it's Rural Gilly, who totally outdrank you and watched as you tried to somersault down these darkened hills as you were looking for Floy.
I did not try. I succeeded at that somersault.
Did you? We never actually rolled for that, I don't think. But, maybe.
Spend a hope for a magic success.
Fair enough. Meanwhile, Aurinial and Gilly, you in the same area, you followed the sound of this solemn choir, and you discovered a procession of elves that were journeying out of the Shire and westward towards what you would probably be able to discuss as the Grey Havens. The two of you, I think, are knowledgeable enough to probably piece that together. In the morning, you had some renewed hope. You continued to cross the Shire. It was a relatively uneventful trek, but there was some revelry that was going on, some parties that were being planned. You stayed for a night at the Prancing Pony, I believe. No, not the Prancing Pony. Excuse me. What am I talking about? The Green Dragon in Hobbiton, I believe it was. And then you kind of continued eastward across the Brandywine Bridge, and then eventually you saw the familiar sight of Bree. So that is where we will pick up, with you all having just ventured inside. We'll kind of, you're still on the kind of Great East Road. You see off to the east. You can see that activity on the road itself up the Greenway. You can see the familiar peaks of the houses, the hills. You can see some of the farmland all throughout. You can see there's folks that are coming and going from their work. We'll put it midday, towards maybe the latter half, not yet evening time. But we'll say you all have returned to Bree. What do y'all want to do?
I'm sure we all have business in Bree. We can finish it now. Keep the journey on.
Shall we meet for lunch at my parents' house?
Sounds lovely.
I could go for a meal.
Agreed.
Okay. So as long as we're not doing, so this is how it'll work. We're technically still in journey phase. You have a choice. You can either stop this journey completely. We do the closed journey rank stuff, and then you start up a new one when you're ready to leave Bree to go down to Tharbad. Or we can just do a handful of like little spot check-in scenes, and then we can keep going and stay on the same journey. I'm fine either way. Do you have a preference?
Gilly, it does appear that time is of the essence. Is it okay if this visit is a bit shorter than normal?
I anticipated it would be. Out of character, how's everybody's fatigue? I think we're all at 6, maybe?
Yes.
Less
6.
or more?
Well, I don't think Aurenial's at 6.
I am not at 6,
Yeah.
but thanks for asking.
Such an OP ability. It's ridiculous. So OP. All right. So are we doing just a quick check-in, like a stay overnight, and then we leave? Is that the idea?
Yeah, a little
Yeah, I
pit
think
stop.
so.
I don't think there's
Yeah.
Okay. Fair
That
enough.
much.
Fair enough. All right. So if that's the case, we won't do any sort of end of travel stuff yet. So why don't we just sort of, you all tell me, you can kind of set them up. Tell me what you're doing, what you're looking to accomplish here in this 24-hour period that you're lingering in Bree, and I'll tell you what I got for you. So who's doing what?
I'll find anyone coming up from the south, ask them about how the roads are, anything weird, unexpected.
Great. That's actually a really good idea. So why don't you give a quick roll? Let's see. If you're just looking to just kind of get some information, it could be something as simple as courtesy or persuade, something like that. It's something that you're going to get from somebody as they come up. You're looking for anybody who might have recently ventured up the north-south road there from Tharbad.
All right,
So
I'll do a little courtesy.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I failed.
Okay. You're still going to find some. It's just a question of how much info you might get. So we'll say you find people who refer, I mean, like so we'll say maybe you go over to the dwarf house and Bree, which is a place that has been referenced a few times, and you probably have stayed there, I would say, at a certain point. I treat it almost like a little embassy type place where dwarves might come and go. And not only that, but where certain people you've met along the way have probably stopped. There's a couple different folks who come in and out. But the actual proprietor of the dwarf house is Lukey, is his name. And so when you kind of check in, you don't hear any news of any kind of dwarfs going down there, coming or going. You know that some of your Blue Mountain brethren come and go. They go on these long treks for various goods. And you've also recently, I would say, back when you were in Forlon, you met Alrecker and Alina, which were people who are out of Tharbad as well. Maybe even inquire about them directly. You don't get anything like that. You do hear, however, that there hasn't been trouble out of the ordinary, banditry here and there, but usually nowhere within a day or two of Tharbad. and you hear news that Master Gurnow, who is like kind of the head of the city, keeps a fairly tight circle around the city itself, and so that if you're close enough to it, usually his guards, and maybe you might even hear his own bandits, like because like maybe you hear like a rumor about how if anyone's going to know anything about how to keep banditry at bay, it's an old bandit himself. So there's nothing like that along the road that you're too concerned with. But there are people who are actually referred to as refugees coming up out of Tharbad, and I would say the one thing you would get is sort of this vague sense that there are folks that were happy to get out of there, and was not easy for them to. But you don't meet anyone in specific. It's more like rumor mongering, rumor mill from the dwarf house.
Got it.
Okay. What are other folks doing? Stephen went for an invisibility spell, successfully cast it, rolled a Gandhi. Gilly or Renio, what do you want to do?
Gilly just heads home. She's going to spend time with her parents. Just restock on provisions, sweetgrass, etc.
The essentials. Gotta get that sweetgrass. Okay. Sure. So I'll tell you what. Let me roll a quick little feat die here. Okay. When you get home, it's middle of the day, so I'm not sure if they're out in the fields or if they're home, but we'll say at some point later in the eve, Prim and Tolman, they come home, they see you. You probably let yourself in at some point. Didn't you have like you had like your own apartment, right? Like kind of like side?
Behind.
Yeah, like Gilly moved out, but she didn't fully move out.
Yeah.
You know? And so they're extraordinarily happy to see you. You can see that your mother kind of comes up and kind of grabs you by the cheeks and kind of looks you up and down. Your father kind of comes up, kind of sniffs your hair a bit and says, I don't smell much of the life on you. You've been running lot there, little girl.
We had to use it to help get us out of a sticky situation. So unfortunately, I haven't had any.
You used it to get out of a sticky situation. Well, what do you mean by that? And
Gilly's never really shied away from telling her parents like what's happened. So she goes into the whole tale of like the bear beast and how she used him to.
Stop it. No more. I can't hear anymore. And you see him just kind of collapse onto a couch or a chair. Gilly, my dear. How could you? How could you waste such wonderful leaf? There's so many other things you could have burned instead of the sweetgrass.
But the smell was what we really needed, and that was the best.
Well, you can't deny it. Were you trying to temper the anger of the beast with the wonderful smell and effects of the grass? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah.
I suppose there's some wisdom
to
that, but
Dad, it worked.
Did it? Oh, I suppose we'll never know. Oh, it just breaks my heart to think of all of that wasted. Well, haven't had a very good crop, mind you. It's been very dry this summer. Haven't got much in the way of rains. I worry that we're not going to have as much as usual. Probably going to have to tighten our belts through the winter.
That's fair. And then Gilly has gotten some treasure and stuff that she's had, so she gives that to her parents.
Oh, God, my good. Where are you finding these things? Oh, this is too much, girl. What are you doing? No, this is much too. And they're both kind of very the classic. No, we can't. Yeah. This is what you did. This is yours. These are your treasures. We don't have any need for these.
And Gilly does the whole thing, when your friend's oh, don't give me gas money, and you hide it in their car somewhere so they can find it later. Throughout the day, Gilly's just hiding this around the house and everything.
Jeff's thinking he's got to go check his car.
Yeah, right. I'm like, is that a thing? Should I have been?
I do that.
I've never done that in my life, but now that I'm wondering, I'm like, man, when I sold my last car, there's probably like $100 worth of gas money. Oh goodness. Your mother will talk to you as well. Well, darling, I've got some worrisome news and some humorous news. Which one would you rather hear?
Worrisome.
Well, I was speaking with Alcott the other day, and it seems your lumberjack friend, your Elise, she's come down with something. She was attacked. She was up there in the Chetwood. She was keeping an eye on your ranger friend Ireneo's home, and well, something assaulted her in the middle of the night. She took a terrible wound, and she's been bedridden now for a fortnight, it seems. Alcott can't make heads or tails of the wound. Doesn't know what to do at all. Best she can do is keep it at bay and keep her comfortable, but this is quite terrible. Quite terrible.
Oh.
We've spoken with some of the dwarves in the dwarf house, but the dwarves don't know a thing at all about proper healing. They thought about maybe sending a messenger out west, across the Shire to one of the elvish communities, but no one really knows who to talk to.
Oh, I'll have to go see it myself.
Well, she's over at the Sweet Roots, as you might expect. Alcott's been, well, for the first week, kind of kept her strapped down so she wouldn't go walking away, but now she's so sick herself that she can't go doing that.
Oh, that's terrible.
It is. It's quite terrible. She's just a good woman, that Elise Briarcleave. Always checking in on us, always asking about you and your friends and your adventures and doing this and that and the other. You know, she's been on alone her whole life here. You know, no husband, no family. It'd be such a shame if anything happened to her. And here she is, sick as can be. Alcott even said death's door might be the type of thing we're talking about before long. Yes.
What was the humorous news? Gilly asked as she's like getting her pack together to like go check on her.
Oh, well, I can tell you a funny story about old Marge Oakstout. Yeah. If it wasn't 3-4 days ago, I think it was, that we, the Kettlegrasses of all people, well, we got ourselves a visit by the Reeve, if you can believe it. Yes, the Reeve came here, Cole Pickthorn himself, in all his glory and all his politicking, knocking on our wee door, looking for you, actually, and your friends, because apparently Marge Oakstout, well, caused all manner of fuss. And, we've heard different tales. We've heard everything from, well, she threw a jar of pickles at him, or she just threw pickles, or whatever it might be, but the Reeve arrested her. Can you believe it? Arrested her. I didn't even know he had a jail, but yes, there it was. And so she's been in jail now for several days. But that's not even the funny part about it, Gilly. You see, when he came looking for you, he was looking for you because he can't get her to leave.
Oh, no.
She just won't go. Like I said, he doesn't have a proper jail, so he's been keeping her locked up in one of the bedrooms in the Reeves house, and now she just won't go away. And he's just, oh, Miss Sweetgrass, Kettlegrass, can you do something about it? And I don't know her at all. No, that's my little girl. It's Gilly who knows her.
Yeah. And I'll have to tell my friends about this. Do you mind if they come over for dinner after I go check in?
Of course we don't mind. What kind of question is that, you young bat? Yes. This is what happens when you don't smoke enough. Your brain's all fuddled in the wrong sorts of ways.
That's true.
But that poor Reeve, oh goodness, I've never seen a man so beside himself. His hair all ruffled up. Looks like he hasn't slept for weeks. For weeks. I don't know what she's doing to him, but I'll tell you. Oh, I think he's at wit's end is what he's at.
I can imagine.
Well, anyhow, off with you. Give my best to Alcott. Love and kisses.
Of course. And Gilly gives her mom a big old hug before she, bounds out the house.
Oh, we'll see you later. I don't know. I don't want to let go of you. Now, go, girl. Take care of your business. All right. Aurinial or Daggett, are you guys doing anything?
So I feel like Aurinial would have gone straight to Marge's house, and so would have gone over and just would be opening the gate, knocking on the door.
Okay. So if you do that, at a certain point, as you're knocking on the door, the creak of the gate, all that kind of stuff happening, you hear the sound of another gate open next door, or we'll say across the street, and you see that kind of a large woman. You'd probably put her shy of Marge Oakstout's age, but I would say you might know her, or at least know her name. Mrs. Kemble is her name. And when she comes out, she's, I don't know who you're looking for there, sweetie, but she's not in anymore. We're going to be selling the house pretty soon if she doesn't return, but no, she was arrested. Yeah, proper criminal she is.
Now, Miss Marge always has quite a sharp tongue on her. Are you telling me someone actually arrested her for that this time?
There's sharp tongues, and then there's what that woman is wielding, and it's far sharper than any blade I've ever seen. No, she got in trouble with the law, yes. The wardens came round asking questions, and, well, I guess she said some of the things she shouldn't have said. The type of things when you say them out loud, you mean to keep them inside, and one thing led to another, and all of a sudden we see old Cole Pickthorn come running out of the house, getting chased by this batty old woman. She's got a broom in one hand and she's got a handful of pickles, and she's just throwing them left and right and starts beating them right there in the middle of the street. It's all he could do to save a bit of face, but he got up off the ground, got a few of his friends, his other wardens, they came on over they didn't know whether to laugh, whether to help, whether to knock her on the head with one of their weapons, and, well, off she went.
The attack of the flying pickles, you say? This is what,
Oh, they weren't flying. She was throwing them, and she's an old woman. She doesn't have the strongest arm, but one of them got him square in the eye. He couldn't open his eyes for the rest of the day. I've heard stories, his eyes all red, like pink eye, and so that's what folks calling him now. Yes.
Well, it just sounds, quite so...
Old Pink Eye Pickthorn, that's what they called him, yes.
Well, that is certainly a mouthful of a thing to say there. I'm not quite sure I'm going to take a stab at it. But so you say she is in jail for this travesty of human decorum.
Well, from what I know, Mr. Pickthorn brought her back to the Reeves house and was just going to give her a stern talking to, but I don't know what was said. I've heard quite rude things, obviously. She said more than a handful of, ill-spoken words that I won't repeat right now about the quality of the wardens, the unfairness of their treatment of her son, and then, the pickles started flying. But, as far as I know, she's still there.
It does appear that I should
visit her. She and I aren't on the best of terms, of course, but...
And you were going to sell the house?
Well, we weren't going to sell the house. I have no claim to it, but someone within the city will, with her boy being, he's ostracized himself, a criminal in his own right, and now the mother too. Usually doesn't work in that order, but yet here we are.
Yeah, I don't believe that that's quite telling the whole story. I don't know that I want to get into all of that nonsense in the story that you all tell about Hollis there, but I will.
I don't tell any stories. Watch your tongue there, young lady. I haven't said a sour word on the boy my whole life. I'm just spouting facts is all. He's a criminal. He's not allowed back in Bree, and that's that.
Understood. And everybody else is going to sort of.
For your tone.
I have ensured each time I come into town that I do some chores for Miss Marge, as I did each time I'm here. And I will go. Have you seen her at the Reeves?
No, I didn't go visiting. Like I said, we're not old friends or nothing.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go see how she is doing over at the Reeves. Thank you for the information and your time.
Sure. While you're going there, you might want to take a stop in the market area. Maybe you can stop at the manor stall and buy a few. And she kind of turns around and starts turning away from you.
And Iridial is just like, clearly this person is her next door neighbor and is not cared to go see her. So she is not feeling at all like she did anything wrong.
Okay. Daggett, what would you be doing? Has Daggett ever been to Bree?
Sorry, couldn't find the mute button. No, he's not been to Bree. And he has a new stone pipe. So he'd like to stock up on some of this famous halfling leaf.
Okay. I mean, there's plenty of places to go. There are hobbits within Bree. Gilly probably could have directed you some places. I am sure Gilly's family might have a stall in sort of a certain area where they sell their product when they have the product to sell. Not every day is market day, but we'll say you're able to kind of move around within some of the areas that you probably get onto the green that sort of cuts through Bree, and you can see all the major locations, the Reeves houses.
Getting on the green. I see what you did there.
It's called the green. I'm not making it up, man. It was Tolkien. That guy was so high. So I'm just kidding. Yeah, I don't think he did. But yeah, you would have no problem, I would say, in terms of kind of getting that out. Is there anything you're doing while you're kind of moving around town and all that kind of stuff?
No, this is my first time in Bree, so I would just kind of like take the lazy way around everywhere just to see what a real halfling human town looks like. It's very rare for me to see a settlement that's not dwarven.
So the green itself is basically this wide grassy field that's essentially at the center of the town. It's on the western side of the East Road. And there's this famed inn that you maybe have heard stories about before that is right there, the Prancing Pony. The lawn is normally very lush. It's a very dry time of year. And so you can see that despite that, it's, the green itself, it's there, but it's kind of a muted green. You hear more than one conversation about the lack of rain. Oh, sure, hope we'll get some storms here soon. Could use a little water on these here leaves, that kind of stuff. There's like along the way, like you can see again, like the major buildings, the administrative buildings of Bree. There's like the counting house, the armory. There's the Reeves Hall. All of these things are places you see folks coming and going from the army that are dressed vaguely like guards, but I would say they don't look even remotely impressive, especially when compared to those that you've dealt with at Crackstone or at Gladrock, that kind of thing. You also notice that there's, I would say we'll call it a market day since you're specifically looking for it, but you also know, so that you can see there's stalls that are set up. But there's also plenty of kids that are just running all over the place. And more than once, you probably nearly get knocked down as they kind of bump into you. And they're like, "Hi, you're a dwarf, aren't you? Oh, can I tug on your beard?"
Tug on my...
And they tug on your beard and they start laughing and running away. "Oh, got it. And they start running.
You little brats.
and they continue to run away and they dart between other people that are standing on the market stall. And you call out, "You little brats!" And you can see a woman looks over to, "Who are you calling a brat, Mr. Dwarf?"
Those ruffians that just ran away.
Those ruffians? Those ruffians are 6 and 7 years old.
They're menaces.
I would expect a dwarf to be made of sturdier stuff, I would.
I just scowl and turn away. How dare she?
Okay. You start wandering. "Oh, now he's wandering away. Oh, afraid of a big..." And everyone just kind of starts sort of cackling, laughing. It's not like crazy. It lasts maybe 30 seconds and then, it's gone.
Bright red.
Okay. All right. So we'll say you guys have spent some time. Daggett, you're wandering around the green. Floy, you've spent some time at the dwarf house. Originally, you went to Marg Oak Stouts, and Gilly, you went to your mother. What else are you guys doing?
After we regroup, did we want to check on the cabin?
So I think Gilly was going to follow up with Sweet Root.
Okay.
Were you going to do that on your own, or are you going to wait to meet everybody and then go?
She probably just did that on her own.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll resolve that. Aurinial, you're going to go check in on Marge at the Reeves house. Were you going to do that on your own, or were you going to wait till after you met with others?
Let's see. Sorry, I just had a thought that it would be really fun to go grab Daggett and just be like, "So this is what it means to really be part of the group." So
Okay.
Hazing. Aurinial's hazing him.
I would say you probably we can say you easily happenstance run into each other because the Reeves house is along the green. Daggett's there wandering around. At a certain point, maybe Aurinial, you show up, you see his face is bright red. He looks a little flustered and frustrated.
Very angry.
And we'll say pick up there. So what now?
What seems to be the issue, Mr. Daggett?
Hobbit children are rotten to the core.
Well, this is I must say you are the very first person who has ever made such a accusation.
They tugged on my beard and ran away cackling.
Well, they are children, are they not?
You never pull on someone's beard. You never touch a dwarf's beard.
Well, I suppose someday you might meet someone who you might want to touch your beard a certain way, but I suppose that hasn't happened yet for you.
Aurinial, are you trying to court me right now?
No, I most certainly am not. I'm just saying you haven't found someone who you might want to do that, and maybe.
I mean, no
someday you
offense, but you're a bit tall for me. It's nothing personal.
will. Oh no, it's not. And she sort of
I
takes
see
a
this
step
more as a
back.
platonic sort of fellowship.
Yeah. See, what I was actually going to introduce you to is we have a friend of ours that we always make sure to say hello to anytime we're in Bree, and seeing as you are part of the platonic fellowship, as it were, this is part of what we do as a fellowship. So off we go.
Fair enough. It's as long as they don't pull on my beard anymore. And I kind of tuck my beard in a little bit so it's out of reach.
And Aurinial will sort of give the backstory of meeting Hollis and all of the chores with Marge that we've done before as we go over to the
3
Reeves
Hobbit
house.
kids do a drive-by, yank on Daggett's beard, and disappear down an alleyway.
Hit him with Black Fang.
Okay. All right, buddy. All right. So it's easy enough finding the Reeves house. It is very much a house, 2 stories. It is where also he lives. You can see that there are a couple of folks mingling on the outside of it, but You can say it doesn't look like they're waiting to go inside. You can see they're more just sort of whispering and looking inside and like looking and snickering from time to time. But if you go and you can see like not too far from here is the armory where the wardens kind of hang out as well. But you go and you kind of knock on the door and you hear a familiar sound from inside Urbaniel. Like after a few moments, just scream like, "You're gonna get that!" Like as loud as can be. Marg Oatstout's voice. I'm gonna have trouble doing Marg Oatstout's voice right now. I'm afraid to say it, but you hear her voice like cackle, and then the door opens up, and you see Cole Pickthorn, who a person you probably have seen prior, but essentially head of the town, effectively. But you can see a man, decent age. You'd probably peg him maybe in his 40s or so. Slight receding hairline. You can see he's got that same kind of warden's get up on, but it's not armor as this is just, he's sort of got kind of a stately dress to him. You can tell his right eye is just as pink and red as can be. And like, it looks like he's been rubbing at something fierce. And his other eye is just like, there's a big dark ring underneath it that suggests he probably hasn't slept in quite some time. And he says, "Yes, what is it? Can I help you? Is this an emergency?"
I'd like to report a crime.
No, he's
A crime. Okay, yes. Yes, Master Dwarf. What crime are we talking about?
These children in the street are a menace. I've never been to a more wretched place in my life. They're all villains.
I do apologize. We were actually here to visit Miss Marge, actually.
Cool. Are you friends of hers? Please tell me you're friends of hers.
I don't believe she would consider us friends, but we do generally stop by her house and do a few chores when we happen to be...
chores, yes, yes. She's very fond of telling people what chores they need to complete, especially when she's the prisoner. And you hear her like cackle back. But he opens the door a little wider and lets you inside. I'm sorry about the children, Master Dwarf. I'll make sure we run them all out of town. Yes, right. Get right on that for you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're all welcome. And anything to get out of here. You don't need me. He's like wanting to leave. But when you go in, you see there is Marge Oakstout. There is a small room on the first floor where it seems is her cell. There's a bed inside. It just looks like a guest room. And she's just kind of laying in there, got a window, shutter open. The summer sun is kind of coming through. She's got a kind of what looks like a book on her lap, but you're not, it's got a lot of pictures in it. You're not sure if she's capable of reading. And she looks up. I recognize you. You're, what's the name now?
Aurelial. It's Aurelial.
No, that's not it.
Yes, my name is Aurelial.
No,
in fact, it is Aurelial. Yes.
Else.
Yes,
Something.
my name is Aurelial.
Aurelial. G in it.
The
maybe.
Ranger. No, that's
Ranger.
Hobbit friend.
That's why I told you there was a G in it. Yes, this is my Ranger friend, Mr. Pickthorn.
Yeah, I think he stepped out. Actually, he left.
No, I'm still here. She won't let me leave. He's just sort of like resigned by the door, like looking out.
Yes. This is my traveling
Excellent.
companion.
I've given Mr. Pickthorn the full list of chores. Consult with him, the two of you together. I'm sure. Well, another dwarf. I've heard so much about you. The three of you then could probably knock out the list in a great little time.
I'm a list for things to do here, a list for things to do back at your house, because I'm sure you're anxious to get back to your own home.
I've told Mr. Pickthorn that I can't stay there by myself. I'm a wee old lady who is liable to suffer great violence and terrible things because my son is not allowed back in the city to keep an eye on me. And so since my son's not here, then there's really only one other thing that can be done.
this eligible young man, Mr. Pickthorn, who has no family of his own and nothing else to do with his time, can keep an eye on me. Isn't that right, Mr. Pickthorn? It's not exactly correct. Please take it. Please. I'll pay. I will pay. I don't have much, but I will pay.
I'm willing to do some chores for money.
We don't get paid for the chores we do. I told you this on the way over. We met Hollis. We made a promise, and we help her. We don't get paid.
Well, you're not asking Marge to pay you. Pickthorn said he'd pay. You know that.
You were entirely missing the point. You're just missing the point of this.
It sounds like you're just passing up free money.
Not everything in the world must revolve around coin. You and Floy, 2 peas in a pod. You really are. Just don't
Listen,
know if it's
daylight's wasting, dearie. Ranger lady. There's shutters to clean, repaint, of course. That gate out front, I'm pretty sure it's squeaking again.
Yes,
dust all throughout the kitchen. Not sure how anyone could properly prepare a meal in there with all that dust, unless you like dust on your food, of course. And don't even get me started on the well out back.
Yes, well, all of that seems like great. I had a thought actually. Marge, if you wouldn't mind.
You had a thought.
Just a moment.
She kind of makes this big show of flopping the book down, even though it was already flopped down.
You're interrupting my twilight years, dear. I'm trying to get some reading in before I pass away from this world, but go right ahead, share your thought.
You are, it's always refreshing to hear your worldview, Marge.
I know it is, but can you get on with it, please?
And so she will turn to Mr. Picklethorn, yes?
It's Pickthorn. It's Pickthorn.
I heard someone call him Pink Eye.
Master Dwarf, if you would like me to do anything about those children, I suggest heckling me, not be a stranger.
I meant no offense. I heard them say it on the green.
Probably the children that, the same beard-pulling children that
villains.
might come up with such name. Anyhow, I was wondering if we all might come to an accord, perhaps. It's been, if I recall, and I've been here and there in the meantime, but it appears that it's been quite some time since the past transgressions of Mr. Hollis, Oakstout. Just wondering if there might be a solution to this current problem we find ourselves in that might make everyone satisfied, perhaps. Do you see where I'm going with this, Mr. Pickthorn?
I absolutely do. I've sent 2 wardens out the past few days to search for him in the marshes, but they don't know the marshes, hide nor hair of it. They can't find him. I said if I could leave, I might be able to find myself, but then she says if I leave, well, what am I gonna do when she dies in the bed and this and that and everything? She holds me hostage. She's holding me hostage. I'm the jailer here. What's happening? If you know how to get in touch with Mr. Oakstout, you can be free to tell him that he has served his penance and he is once more welcome back within the walls of Bree. As long as he takes his dear sweet mother out of my home and back into their own. That's all. That's all I want.
Well, I as I said, I've been doing a bit of traveling myself, so it is not that I have his immediate coordinates available, but I did not Elise have some knowledge of his whereabouts and might be able to assist you in locating?
Yes. that's another problem. I've heard news from Combe that apparently she is under the weather and is unable.
Oh, no.
She's suffered some sort of wound in the Chetwood and is unable to go find him.
Oh no. Well, this is not good news at all. I would want to.
He gets really close to you at this point. His one eye, again, it's almost like a black eye with how dark and how much he hasn't slept, and the other is just bright pink.
Madam, I will give you the key to the dang city if you get this lovely old woman out of my home, please.
Yeah. Yes.
If you can find Hollis, I would be forever grateful.
We'll take the job.
Thank you, Master Dwarf.
Yes, he's right. We'll take the job.
And he kind of puts a hand on both of your shoulders, and so he's kind of in this awkward angle, and he pulls you in both nice and close.
Hurry.
Awkwardly shuffle away from Aurenial because they don't want to be too close right now.
Please hurry.
Yes, we and Aurenial would like to not that we have to kind of play this all out, but wants to do some type of a healing check to try to help his pink eye.
Oh yeah, sure. Go ahead. Just do a quick roll. That's fine. Floy, would you at some point have met up with Gilly? Was there something else you were going to do afterwards?
Yeah, I probably would have headed over to the farm area and maybe seen Gilly.
Okay.
Traveling.
So maybe you'll catch Gilly as she's got her, her pouches and stuff. Maybe you've changed, you've cleaned up Gilly after speaking with your parents, and you're shuffling off, heading out in the direction of Alcott Sweetwood's home. And that's when you see Floy kind of running up. You can see the goats along the side, kind of like calling out to him, recognizing his scent and face. But yeah, we'll pick up with the two of you. You can kind of figure out where you want to go from here.
You in a hurry, Gilly?
Yeah, I have news that Elise is injured, possibly on death's door.
That sounds terrible.
She's at the Alcotts.
I'll follow you.
Okay, yeah. I'm curious what injured her to put her in the state if she was just in the Chetwood.
Okay. So you head over to the Sweet Roots. Alcott is the healer of Coombe. So you guys are not actually in Bree right now. You're in sort of like the suburb, essentially. Aurenial, Daggett, you still are. You knock on the door, and you see the familiar face of Graham, who is,
Pleasure to see the two of you again, Master Floy, Miss Gilly, Miss Kettlegrass. Your parents must be overjoyed to have you back in town.
Yeah, it's so good to see them.
And Master Floor, we've got a fresh batch of goat's milk in if you're willing to pony up a bit of corn for it.
That sounds wonderful.
Oh, wonderful. Excellent. I had a feeling you'd be back here again. Now, I must tell you that they are, in fact, from, try to look at her name. They're going to have a wonderful, extra delightful taste to them, as they are from the old books. But I will sell them to you, of course, but you cannot let Old Meadow know that I sold them to you. Understand?
I'll try not to bring it up.
Okay, maybe just stay away from her farm.
Yeah.
Entirely.
Remember, she did
I'm happy to fetch you more.
Yeah. Is Elise able to have visitors?
Oh God. Alcott's tending to her right now, switching out the bandages. Come back, yeah, come back, of course.
Okay.
And so, yeah, she brings you back into this sort of familiar room, and it's probably the same room where Talendil was tended to all those months and probably a year ago at this point, right? And you see there is the familiar face of Elise in Alcott, who seems to have just removed bandages from what looks to be a wound on Elise's side. You can tell immediately that Elise, middle-aged woman, if you recall, a hardy woman, very strong. She is quite pale, like very, very pale, noticeably so. There are like the sheets beneath her, which are kind of like this off-white, are darker than her skin currently. And when you come in, you can see her eyes kind of flicker open, but then quickly close as if the room itself is too bright. And you can tell that the windows have been covered in sheets so as not to let a lot of light in here. It's very dark in here. There's a small candle that you can see that Alcott is using to help kind of guide her instruction. But despite it being during the day, it's very, very dark in here. What do you want to do?
Miss Alcott, how is Elise?
You can see Alcott kind of holds up a finger, and she stands up, kind of wipes her hands, and kind of leads you both probably into the hall, closes the door ever so. And she kind of speaks in a low, like half whisper. I'm not going to speak in a half whisper, but she's saying all this in a half whisper. And she says, it's quite grave, Miss Kettlegrass. From what I was able to gather from her when she first stumbled home, she was attacked. She was tending to your friends, Irinial, Talendil, forgive me, I don't quite know whose cottages it is any longer, but she was tending to it as she promised your Irinial friend that she would. When something attacked her, and she took a terrible wound, a stab wound. I don't know what from, and I don't know what strength that woman had to make it all the way through the Chetwood, through the night. I know it was spring and not as cold, but that is a long trek for anyone, let alone for someone at night with such a wound. I've been tending to it as best I can. I've been using all of my herbs. I've been keeping it clean, soaping it out multiple times a day, and it just won't close. I've stitched, and it just won't heal. The skin won't suture itself together. It won't scar, and then there's the discoloration. So much of it. So dark. Blacks and purples and dark greens swirling about like rot. It's quite terrible. She barely sleeps, and when she does, her eyes flitter about like she's not sleeping at all. And in the morning, it's like she doesn't remember any of it, and I have to remind her where she's at. She remembers me and Graham, of course, but others have come by to check in on her and see how she's doing, but I'm not sure she's going to remember you, Miss Kettlegrass.
How long has she been like that?
Oh, not quite a fortnight, Mr. Floy. I'd say at least a week, maybe 10 days. I've been marking the calendar. I can check to be more certain, but she's been this way for more than a week. I don't know whether she stayed there by herself or how long it was. She tried when she first was stabbed to tend to it. I could tell there were various wounds and poultices, but she's not the greatest when it comes to the healing arts. I've done all I could.
Could I see the wound?
Of course, yes. But don't open the windows. The sunlight, it causes her eyes to flicker all strange, and she gets terrible pains in the head. But use the candle, dear.
And she kind of hands over the candle to you.
Yeah, so then Gilly will quietly open the door and step in, and
you go in and you look down. Go ahead and roll a healing test.
seem good. That is a great success.
It is. They keep calling it a stab wound, and you think it is, but it's not a clean wound. Like, it doesn't look like a clean blade, like it went in and out. Instead, it seems like the wound itself is rough. So whatever made the incision, whenever kind of made the puncture, I should say, didn't do so in a kind of a very, it was not a well-kept blade, if it was even a blade to begin with.
Okay.
But you can see that there's sort of like a fracturing or radiating of extra small little cuts here and there. So it's some sort of abnormal shape of some kind.
Does it look like poison?
It doesn't look, so you've got familiarity with poison from goblin arrows, I would say. It does not look like that.
What about the
it does
poison?
look infected. Something's wrong with it for sure. Go ahead.
Okay. Like the nameless thing poison that Floy had?
It does not look like that either, no.
Okay.
No, but it does. I mean, there's similarities to discoloration, strange smell to it, not healing, that kind of thing. But it certainly doesn't look like any of those things, or the spider bites that Sorendir suffered that one time. None of that looks like what you're seeing here. And other than the immediate area where she was stabbed, her whole torso is cold and it's pale.
And I want to attempt a healing test, but I also want to see if she's like coherent and talk to her.
So your healing test has already gone through, so you're good. You don't have to roll another one.
Okay.
You don't see that Alcott has done anything differently than you would have done. Alcott has done everything exactly the way that you would have done it. I would say you would be at a loss, even with your great skill.
Mm-hmm.
And to knowing just what's actually going on, why this wound isn't healing.
Okay. Oh gosh. Elise, are you awake?
If you try to wake up, is that there?
It's Gilly Kettlegrass.
Gilly. The Hobbit girl.
Yeah. What did this to you?
I was sleeping. Shadow moved and stabbed me. It was late and I was staying in the cottage and I heard a noise, strange noise, and I saw the shadow moving in the cottage. And then when I got up to look, I tried to light the lantern, and that's when I felt it just lunge out at me. And the cold metal right into my skin. And then away it went when I got the light on.
Okay. Do you... And Gilly's kind of like at a loss of what to say. Is there anything you need to be more comfortable?
Too bright. It's too bright. The flame.
And she's like, with a very meek arm, kind of holding it up towards the candle.
And Gilly will pinch it out.
Better. Thank you.
When you do that, you notice that her eyes like hold like a glow once the fading of that candle, and then they also fade too, but it holds it for a much longer amount of time than you would have probably expected before the light fades as well.
Okay.
Floy, are you doing anything throughout all this? I mean, you could say Graham and Alcott were like in the hall with you while Gilly was checking it. You can go in with Gilly. Was there anything you were doing?
I probably wouldn't go in since I don't know too much about that. I'll just stay in the halls.
Okay. All right. Anything else that you guys, either of you, would want to do right now for Elise? And again, Gilly, you passed your your heal test with flying colors. Like there's no issues with that at all. It's not a lack of, like, Alcott has done nothing you wouldn't have done. She's exceptional job. Everything's been clean, but it's just something about this wound specifically feels different, you know?
I don't know. Could Gilly possibly ask her to, like, because like, cover her face and stuff so she can open the windows and get a better look at the wound?
So Gilly slowly creeps over and
No!
puts a pillow over top of this woman's face. That's fine. Yeah. We can flavor that all out, but I'll say that, like, ultimately there's no extra check that you need to roll or anything like that. Like, we can play that out. You bring the light in, and you can again see maybe the one thing that you would catch more than others is that her skin, especially around the wound and radiating out from it, is almost translucent in some ways.
Okay. All right. Could you let us know anything about Hollis?
You ask Elise this?
Yeah, because Gilly's making, like, bedside talk to keep
sure.
her, like, occupied while she's doing the inspection.
He's fine. Last I spoke, it's been a month, maybe. The dogs are good. There was a troll sighting on now, he said. I thought I heard something. He said on the edge of the Chetwood troll moving. And there were carcasses. Lots of them. Yeah. Just mangled. Not properly dressed. Someone's collecting antlers. He was gonna poke around and get back to me, but then this happened.
Okay. And then Gilly just quietly, like, finishes wrapping the wound, packs it as necessary, and then steps out to
Okay.
find Floyd and Alcott.
Sure. And so you guys are all out there, no problem. All right. So we'll say then it's evening. It's probably late afternoon, I'll say at this point. You guys have been moving about, doing some things. We'll kick back over to Daggett and Riniel momentarily. What would the two of you be doing?
I would probably be following Reniel's lead because she knows the area and has seen Hollis before. But I definitely want to start looking for Hollis.
Okay. So
yeah, Reniel probably would have, like, left word with Gilly's folks that we were gonna go try to find Hollis.
Okay. So we'll see Riniel and Daggett kind of moving through the farmlands of Coombe, stopping. We'll just, like, a little montage of you, like, passing by all these different farms as people are kind of packing up their work for the day. You can see that there is one woman who starts to give Daggett a mean look before realizing it's the wrong dwarf. And you stop by the kettle grasses. You let them know, they let them know. So you kind of touch base. But then you want to head out of town to try to kind of navigate the Midgewater Marshes. Okay, this is not like a half an hour. This is a investment of time.
Yep.
It's like a day of travel. And then
We're getting paid for it, so.
Okay. All right. If that's what you guys want to do, I just want to make sure everyone's full up. Okay. So do you want to make sure that you're seeing Floyd and Gilly first before you do this, or do you want to just go do it?
Ideally, we would have run into Gilly and Floyd.
Okay. We can just say that.
On the
Again,
way there, yeah.
The Midgewater Marsh is like a day away, and then you have to find him. And he knows the marshes better than anybody. So, it's not the easiest thing to find a guy who doesn't necessarily want to be found. So we'll say just for the sake of ease, why don't we have a kettlegrass dinner first? And so you meet up at the kettlegrasses, eat some food, share what's happened, share some sweet grass as one might expect, and we'll say as the dinner is sort of breaking down at that point, I'll turn it over to you all. We'll say that Prim and Tolman are nearby, but they're not prying. They know that you all need to talk. So what would you guys be talking about? What's the plan here?
So I went and saw Elise, and her injury is grave. She spoke of seeing shadows at Maribum and Talendale's cottage.
Oh no.
And then she was stabbed.
I wonder, I hope it wasn't the blade that went missing when we were last up north.
Maybe. I don't know, to be honest. But then she spoke of Hollis. Someone was collecting antlers. There's a troll sighting out by the Chetwood.
Well, we need to find Hollis.
We do need an update of what's happening.
And this is, I know seems insignificant in the face of everything else that we've been dealing with, but his mother went and got herself arrested, and is really quite the burden on the Reeve, poor Mr. Pickthorn. But this will work in our favor. We did promise Hollis so long ago that we would try to get his exile ended, and his mother has become such a thorn in Mr. Pickthorn's side, and Erniel sort of grins that she made a little joke there, that this might actually, of all things, get him released. If we can find him, bring him back, the Reeve will agree to release him from his exile, and then Marge will go back to live in her home.
He also offered us the keys to the city if we find Hollis. Actually just get her out of the home one way or another. We could probably just forcibly remove her. That'd be the easiest option.
He's quite desperate. In fact, she, you all have met her. She is quite the personality, but this is actually an upside too.
That is good news. Hollis can come back into town.
Indeed.
And we'll spend a day's journey going out to the marshes and the woods.
It will be. Do we think it's worth it?
I think so. We could find out what put Elise in this condition. True.
He would.
Yeah.
Hollis would have information that might help her healing.
I don't know how to heal her.
I tried to heal poor Mr. Pickthorn earlier, Gilly, doing as you had shown me, and I made the poor man's pink eye much worse. It was pink. It's now more of a purple. I tried. I didn't do so well.
No.
She also called him Picklethorn.
Yes, there's yes. And this one apparently doesn't like Bree Hobbit children. Gilly, can you believe that? They were pulling on his beard and he was quite offended and told the Reeve they should all be arrested. Can you believe that?
Are you sure that they were Hobbit children and they weren't the human children?
I wasn't there. I only heard the story.
Hobbit children are villains.
I'll have you know that that's false. Huh, Mom? I was a delight.
You look over towards her and she...
You had some... It took a while to possibly get you house broken, to be honest. There, sweet Gilly, you're old enough to hear this. The dwarf has it right. You were a bit of a menace, I got to say.
Gilly, you were a terror.
Yeah. She quite liked the dwarfs too, strangely enough. Every time we take her onto the green, we
Mom!
had to pull her away. But...
Don't.
And
This is
Iridial
irrelevant.
is just going to sort of just kind of chuckle and just say, "Oh, Miss Kettlegrass, that hasn't exactly changed."
Well, that's what I hear, and your father and I are wondering if it's time to find a nice young Bree hobbit for Miss Gilly to settle down with here, and these we found so many drawings of dwarves in your bedroom there, Gilly, when you
Mom.
were cleaning it out.
So, and Iridial just is not thrilled with this at all, but Iridial would just sort of look over to Daggett and just say, "Well, I suppose it wasn't just your sensitive feelings today, I guess."
Sensitive? They pulled on my beard.
Mm. Sure. Well, I guess.
Is that just like more
Gilly
like
used to do that a lot when she was younger. She would pull on the beards. Yeah. She would always want to go visit the dwarf house. Oh, goodness. She used to steal the beards. Meaning she would yank out the hair and then she'd make little braids and then she would kind of put them in her hair, like they were affectations. She would prance
Did you
around.
make your own little beards, Gilly? Did you take the little hairs and put them
I
together?
was very handsome.
I
No, you
do
were
believe.
delight. You were
It's
you're
not
a
my fault. I
beautiful
can't
young
grow one.
babe.
I've met orcs that were better natured than those children. That's all I'm saying.
Well, you can see Prim is just sort of like kind of trying to nod along with you, but trying to be rude. And then in the back, you just see Tolman, who's just like chilling on the couch, just listening to all this and can't be bothered. Just taking in the sweet grass aroma that has now permeated the household.
Gilly is desperately trying to change the subject.
And Iridial will sort of look over to Daggett and just ask, have you partaken with Mr. Kettlegrass there? Perhaps it might ease your nerves there a bit.
My nerves are fine, but I will not turn down some of this halfling leaf that I've heard so much about. Gilly shared a bit, and I've found it quite enjoyable. I think it might become a pastime of mine.
Have we ever done a roll for Daggett smoking it?
No.
Just to see how he handles it? Let's just do that. I don't know. What do we want? Athletics, maybe? It's just to see how you handle the full-blown fresh crop sweetgrass.
That's true. You're
I'm not actually that good at
I
athletics.
hope you're a lightweight.
Unless I take a magical success, which I won't do here.
Oh, we did get a lot of donations if you wanted
Yeah,
to take
I'll take an
extra
audience then.
D6.
Audience die.
I didn't see who did. I'm sorry. I totally missed it. I'm still a little slow. But thank you. Thank you.
Yes, that was Griffin who dropped 1,000 bits earlier.
Thank
so.
you, Griffin. Appreciate it.
That's an extraordinary success.
Look at you.
I'm
rolled
sorry,
double
I didn't
sixes.
see it. So I'm gonna say it didn't happen. Okay, no. Daggett, you get a pipe out. You have your new pipe or your old pipe. You sit down. You plop down on the couch next to Tolman. Kind of looks over at you and he's like, "Oh, hey there, Mr. Dwarf. You ever try any sweetgrass?"
I've had a small taste of it on our journey, what little bit Gilly had left. I wouldn't mind having some more.
Glad to hear she wasn't wasting all of it on her little contraptions. Well, here you go. Guest in my house isn't gonna go home unaltered, that's for sure. And he kind of pulls out this big old bag. And you look at him, and you don't think the bag he would be pulling out is as big as it was, but he just holds up what looks like this massive bag of weed, and he just kind of hands you over some. Sure. Puts a little in your
I
pipe.
start packing it in.
Okay. And the two of you are just sort of leaning, maybe you're leaning back over the night. Maybe you start leaning against each other here and there. He starts asking you weird questions. And he's just like, you ever
Master Dwarf, Master Daggett. I can call you Daggett, can't I?
Of course, we're fast friends.
Daggett, have you ever climbed a mountain?
I prefer to go
sweet
under
grass.
No.
Oh,
No.
I see. Have you ever climbed a tree
No.
on sweet
I-
grass?
Also no. I don't think I've climbed a tree.
Have you ever ridden a pony?
Yes.
Well, the pony was on sweet grass.
Now that's an idea.
Oh, it calms them right down. They don't bite you in the face as much.
My pony bites me in the face so much.
I hear it's a sign of affection.
I sure hope so. That pony loves me if so.
I think it's their version of kisses is what it is.
Yeah, it took some chunk off before. You see this scar right here?
Oh, that's a healthy looking scar right there.
Yeah.
You look,
It
you look
locked its
mighty
jaw too.
stately,
I had
you
to
do.
rip it off.
Oh, goodness. Well, you know the best thing to do.
Sweet grass.
Well, okay, the second best thing to do.
What's that?
You bite it back. You just bite it back. Just like that.
Is that like a dominance thing?
Oh no, it's a please and thank you type of thing. It gave it a little love tap, a little love nudge, and you give it back.
I admit I'm relatively new to owning ponies. I only just picked up Boot recently.
Daggett, you and me right now. We're gonna go bite your pony. Let's go. Come on, up.
Let's go bite a pony.
So the rest of you just see Daggett and Tolman just disappear from the house, and you vaguely hear like,
Look it up. Bite that pony.
as the door opens and you hear it close, and then Prim is just sort of shaking her head.
I believe your father might have a problem there, Gilly.
Yeah.
Winnie in the distance.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
thankful he's not climbing the tree again.
That was a very ugly break, I'll say that. It took Alcott months to get that thing back in its proper position. You know, he still can't bend his fingers on his right hand all the way. Oh, what possibly convinced the man he could fly off a tree? Oh, goodness.
Sweetgrass.
Sweet grass.
So we'll say the night continues. You sleep. Morning wakes. You find maybe Daggett and Tolman and the pony asleep somewhere outside. Random bites on the pony's face and on Daggett's face. But you guys wake up. What do you want to do? So what's your plan? I threw something in front of you. The question is, do you want to tackle this, or do you have more pressing matters to attend to? What do you want to do?
So I'm assuming
Daggett
if we go
not
into the
on a
woods or the
timer.
marshes, it'd still break the current journey.
We don't necessarily have to do that. I would probably, if you want to, like, there's really, like, there's nothing wrong with necessarily breaking the journey other than the fact that we convert, like, the travel and whatever. But, like, we can go ahead and leave it. Like, generally speaking, I think rules of the game, like, when you're taking extended scenes, it breaks the travel, but there's really no reason for it not to. So, like, there's no reason. But it's just a question of, it's more of a timing thing for me. Like, are you guys lingering for another day or two here, which is how long this might take? Or do you want to push on?
In that
I'm
case,
okay doing it.
Yeah, I'm also willing to spend some time here.
Yeah, at least his injury has us, at least Gilly definitely concerned.
Okay, so what we'll say is, let's treat this like a skill endeavor to find Hollis, because that's what you want to do, right? You want to go find Hollis.
Yes, we do.
Okay, let's treat this like a skill endeavor. It's not going to be too difficult. We're just going to make it a difficulty of 6. There's no time limit on this, but the longer it takes you, the longer it takes you. And so it's really just like more time. So eventually you'll find him. It's just a question of whether you find him quickly within a day, or whether it takes 2 days or a week or whatever. So we'll say you pack up, you get a handful of basic supplies. You don't necessarily have to bring your ponies for this, but you take the route eastward out of town until you find kind of a turnoff that kind of goes towards the Midgewater Marshes on the north-hand side. We won't do a full travel roll for this, but let's say we move into the swamp. You all tell me then who's taking the lead and how are you contributing to the skill endeavor to locate Hollis?
I would say Aurelial will start. Just trying to go off of the information that we had heard about, because I believe, and now I'm not remembering if it was east or west, but I thought it was there were trolls. I thought to the west, and then there were some scattering of some bodies and antlers and whatnot.
There's the Chetwood, and then there's the Midgewater Marshes, and they kind of abut against one another. The eastern side of the Chetwood and the western side of the Midgewater, and so eventually they kind of like spread over top of one another.
So I'm kind of following the instructions that the stories that we had heard about what he had been looking into with like the trolls and whatnot.
What do you? So you're looking for? So yeah, he heard you heard stories of there being like carcasses and stuff along the edge, mangled, antlers kind of wrenched. Go ahead. So what do you want to roll? We can do.
I'm thinking
hunting?
Explorer.
Explorer's fine. Yeah, let's do that.
I'm going to give it a whirl. It's not one of my best, but I'm going to try, and I'm going to take a audience D6. And wow, I have rolled so many ones. So many ones. And a Sauron for bookkeeping purposes there. Let me... so that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's a fail.
You so you will say maybe maybe you start in the Chetwood and you just sort of work your way east. You start venturing northward a bit along the line. You're looking for any signs of like carcasses that have been splayed out or left behind, kills maybe of wolves or other creatures that might populate either the Chetwood or the marshes themselves, because there are animals, wild animals in both of these places. And although you might find like a dead bird or something here or there, there's nothing that stands out in the way that it was described to the group, which is just found this array of them. And you're unable. And I'll say, I mean, a good half a day passes with Aurelial trying to kind of lead you all, like staying really, really close to the Chetwood. You're still seeing those larger trees. You don't really have the sogginess under your feet. At a certain point, you ventured so far north that like you could keep going, but you're getting further and further and further away from town. But you could keep going north, and maybe it's further north, but you couldn't find anything that resembles, you know, a graveyard of deer or anything like that.
I don't know what this mess was that they were talking about, but I certainly don't know what it was. I don't know. I need to rest my eyes.
Who would like to try and pick up where Aurelial was incapable of finding anything?
Yeah, I can take over. I think there's like cabins or something that were out here.
You know that
or at least had one.
Talendale and, you know, so there's a couple. We've populated Chet with a few things. There's Talendale and Marimben's cabin, which is the north side of the Chetwood. Aurelial stayed there for a time. The tree bough fell through it, or bow fell through it, and then Elise was going to repair it. Elise also has her own lean-to cabin, but that's further south. So yeah, there's some cabins there you could potentially go to. Yeah. Yeah,
let's try to hit up the cabin, see if there's anything lingering.
All right. Do you want to go to the one where she was stabbed, which is Aurelial's, Talendale's, Marimbem's, or do you just want to go to where Elise lives?
Let's go to the stab site.
Okay. You can roll and explore for that, and you can take favorite on it since it's a familiar location. So you're going to be able to find your way there. It's just a question of can you get there quickly.
Favored is a pass.
Okay. So yeah, you move through the Chetwood, beautiful greenery, but it's dry. Everything's very dry. But you're able to hear, you hear the sounds of things in the trees here and there, the distant sound of a wolf maybe howling or a fox or something like that scurrying. underneath some overbrush. But eventually, you kind of reach the sort of the clearing where Talondale and Marimbim had set up their home, where Overneal you had kind of overtaken it. It's kind of dark here, you can tell. First of all, like despite the heat, despite the dryness, the canopy overhead is still fairly lush. And you can see that Orineal, when you get there, the first thing you notice is that Elise has done some work. And so the roof has been partially patched.
Repaired.
Yeah, but yeah, did you get one success, Floyd? Just the one?
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, you've reached the cabin. You're looking around. You do see on the inside signs of some sort of struggle. She has cleaned up a bit. But that's, we'll say, Floyd succeeded in getting you here. Who wants to pick up now?
Could I do a scan test to look for clues?
Go right ahead.
And we do have extras if you want an extra D6.
Yeah, I'll take a D6.
Okay.
That was not good. That is a Sauron, and I rolled 4 dice. I got 2 3s, 2 1s, and a Sauron. So that's a fail.
Wow.
It's you can tell that while Elise has patched the place up, the massive hole in the roof is gone. It's been patched, but the patch job isn't great, and it hasn't been fully repaired. And so once you get inside, you do notice some leaves and such have started to kind of fall through. One of the shutters was open. It's kind of thrown a lot of wind around. There definitely looks to have been an attempt to kind of clean some things up and pack some things away. But you can also tell that there have been animals in here. And so some of her provisions have been kind of eaten through. You can even smell maybe animal droppings. And maybe as you step in and you hear the crunch of the floorboards, like you hear something scurry in the dark corners and kind of out through like a hole in the foundation. But it's a place that's been, I mean, there might be clues hidden somewhere, but it's not easy to see. Leaves, dust, debris has still kind of overtaken the place.
Yeah. I'll just be poking around, seeing what I find.
Okay. Gilly, I think you haven't gone yet. Gilly, you want to do anything?
Yeah, Gilly wanted to do an awareness for danger. So
Sure. Yeah, just do a sweep around or something like that. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go for it.
That is a great success.
Okay. Gilly, you notice over by, there's a pond not too far away from the cottage. It's the pond where Orineal had an incident at. It is not frozen over. It is perfectly. It's at a low water level because you can tell everything's kind of drought like, but it's fine. But as you're over here, maybe refilling your skins or something like that, Gilly, you notice that there are very large footprints in the ground. And I would say you guys have explored long enough and have seen these things before. Gilly, you would be able to recognize a troll print very clearly. Very big as well. As far as you can tell, only the one. But as you're kind of leaning down and you see it and you're kind of filling up your skin and you're doing the classic drink, out of the corner of your eye, you notice in the pond itself, there's like 3 of these broken, wrenched-looking deer carcasses that are just plugged down into the middle of the water. And you can see what looks like a nub from one of the antlers is just barely sticking up out of the water. Maybe you even spit a little bit once you see it. And that's what you get with your great success.
So Gilly will quickly rush back to the rest of the group. I found troll tracks near the pond, and the deer carcasses that you were looking for. Yeah, they're at the bottom of the pond.
Oh. Well, That's, well,
Well, that's great. So we just follow the tracks.
Want to find the troll? Yeah, we probably want to find the troll.
I suppose that's right. You're right, Fly. That is a good idea.
Okay.
It was,
Hunting test by somebody.
I can do that. I'm gonna take an extra. And it's favored. So that's 3 and favored. Oh my gosh. I rolled it favored and rolled 2 Saurons. Let me do some math. Because it's not an automatic fail, it's just a 1. So 10, 12. I do still pass. Because I had a 6, a 4, a 2, and then the 1. So it's still a pass.
But you did roll a Sauron.
But I did roll Sauron, yeah.
Okay. Gilly points out the track. And although the further you get away from the pond, the less muddy and obvious they become, your ranger eyes are skilled enough to be able to recognize. And you find yourselves sort of venturing a little bit northeasternly, almost kind of going back, not necessarily the way you came, because you guys came from the south, but going further deeper into the Chetward, but also kind of working your way back somewhat to the marshes. And you've been here all day. Like, you've been wandering around. Like, this has been a full day's event. And so the sun goes down. You know, you get this sort of sense of you're going to end up having to camp out here. And you come across, Irinial, a very large, very discolored kind of brown-green burn, like a hill, with what looks like a kind of a crooked, uprooted tree that seems to be keeled over onto its side. You're not sure if it's dead, as you can still see there's things growing atop of it. But it's ripped up and kind of keeled over onto its side. And you can see that someone has spent time kind of digging into the side of this hill. Because you see not so much a cave opening as you just see somebody has wrenched the earth into the side of this hill. It's dark. It reeks. Looking around, you can immediately see that there are these strange little things that have been kind of hung along the outside. You can see something has been staked up out of the ground. When you know, it's like, as if like something, as it's creating some sort of opening, flanking that dug out hole. You also notice that all of the other vegetation in the area is sort of dark and kind of painfully twisted in some ways. Like, you can see like trees are kind of coming up out of the ground. Bushes seem tangled, sort of wrenched in some fashion. It's a very strange sort of swath or patch of ground as you all kind of venture into this area. And there's probably about, I would say, 30 yards from where you kind of clear the tree line and where that central burn is, where someone has kind of dug out the side a bit. And they're scattered about here and there are all of these kind of twisted and gnarled looking bits of vegetation. What do you guys want to do?
And Irinial would kind of ask Gilly for her lantern. This is just so dark here. Point of clarification, Jeff, it was a great success because I did have a 6 in there as well.
Okay.
You could use a little light. What has happened to this land? It's been some time since we were here, but this is the distress that this land has seen.
We knew that last time we spoke with Hollis that this was getting darker. The marshes, it seems to be spreading.
You are correct. You're a good storyteller. You keep all of those notes in that journal of yours. I hope hope someday stories can be told of things that we do successfully.
Come Daggett. Let's check out the dugout.
Do you think, Floy, that it is the evil of the hobbit children corrupting these marshes and woods?
It's an interesting theory you have there. Met my fair share of hobbit children, but not as evil as you think.
Well, your beard is still intact, so you're lucky. Let's check out the dugout.
So the two of you move up. And when you get to the front, you notice that what's been stacked up, you can see that there's like a darkened branch of some kind, almost like a black branch that's been stabbed into the ground, very slender. And you can see it has been stabbed through what looks like collected skulls of something, animal skulls of some kind, deer, elk, that kind of thing, maybe a fox, something small. And it's just been stabbed through, and on either side, about 5 or 6 of them have been stacked up, kind of creating this entranceway. You can see that the ground right out in front of this dugout area is muddy and moist. You can see that there's no clear tracks, like one singular track, but rather evidence of a great amount of traffic coming and going, drag marks as well. And do either of you have a light when you come up here?
I do have the light that I can attach to my helm, the candle.
So if you do that, you can see that the dugout area is like a tunnel. It's maybe 5 to 6 feet in height and maybe around the same width, but you can see what looks like bits of vegetation or tree roots and stuff that are kind of hanging down. It's not well framed, and it's also very slimy.
What are your thoughts, Floy?
It goes on further. Shall we explore?
I'll take Black Fang and just kind of scrape some of that slime and get a good look at it.
It's just black mud. Like you hold it up and like even kind of touching it here and there. It's mud for sure. As you're kind of like holding it between your fingers, it's certainly nothing. There's nothing about it.
I don't have to worry about a xenomorph or anything.
I didn't say that.
All right, let's go in.
Okay. So you start crawling in. Or actually, you're both dwarves, so you would be fine. You can kind of go in standing up. Gilly and Aurinial, what are you doing as the two of them go in?
Gilly does have her lantern out, as Aurinial requested.
I suppose we should follow.
Yeah.
And we will enter in after.
Okay. So the four of you start weaving in. It's not a very long tunnel. It's maybe 10 feet. And then it opens up into this pocket of earth. And it utterly reeks in here. To the point where if all of you could go ahead and roll a quick valor test at just the smell and scent of death, that would be really cool for me.
Anything for you, buddy.
Thanks, man. I
I'm
am
so
sick,
good at
you know.
valor.
I failed.
That is an extraordinary success. This is where all of the sixes were hiding for this one roll.
Okay.
Just a pass.
I rolled 2 1s and a Sauron.
Oh my gosh.
Another Sauron?
Oh my
Dear
God.
And 2 1s on top of that, so I rolled a 2.
All right,
Wow.
both of the dwarves take a point of shadow as you start retching. You look around and you can see that there are just ripped up pieces of meat. Like when I say meat, I mean elk, fox, any type of creature that might be found within the Chetwood or within the Midgewater marshes. You can see pieces of them in here. Partly eaten in some cases. Looks like someone has almost like just wrenched them, just sort of ripped them apart. You also notice, like from the ceiling and along the walls, there is like decoration. It's just antlers everywhere, just kind of hanging loosely. And as you start to retch, maybe Aurenia, you stand up and you bang your head. You're the only one tall enough, and you can see like moving around, almost like it's a chandelier. This antler formation that has been broken and retied and broken and retied. You notice off onto one side of this room, there is, I mean, calling it a bed is overstating it, but the four of you would be able to tell something slept here. They're not actively sleeping here right this moment, but you can see there has been enough kind of mud and debris that has been piled up to kind of create some kind of mattress, effectively.
Whatever lives here needs to be dealt with.
This is quite excessive. Can we do like a scan or something? Just to...
No, that's everything you see. There's nothing hidden.
Oh, okay.
I mean, yeah,
Okay.
There's nothing. It's just like it was a straight shot into a sort of a circular room lair type of thing for an animal or creature.
Gilly would like to go back out, and she's gonna do like another like a walk for danger kind of thing.
Okay. So Gilly turns around. You go outside. Gilly, you don't take 2 steps outside the actual cave when you hear, and because Gilly's the one who walked out, Gilly is the one who gets attacked.
No.
Sorry, Gilly.
She had a good run.
She had a good run. This is gonna hurt.
You hush now. You hush.
All right, this is gonna hurt. I'm
It's
sorry.
dying.
Because they get 2 attacks, and I'm gonna take.
Good
them
to take your
both.
headphones off. She can't listen.
All right, and it's doing this from a position of favored. Let's see. Yeah, that's over 20 on the, and I got 1/6. So,
Oh gosh.
Gilly, you take a step out, and you feel something just smash you into the ground, and you're going to take 14 points of damage. And then the second attack's going to come through. Don't do the backup yet. This is all part of the Sauron cash-in I'm doing. And then the second one is going to sweep through and essentially try to like kind of golf you off the ground and just hurl you across the clearing. Oh boy. That is also over 20, except this time I rolled a Sauron. What do we call Saurons again?
Sorries.
Sorries. I rolled a sorry.
Sorry.
So you're going to go ahead, and this time it's going to be second. So the first one was 14 points of damage, but no piercing roll. The second one is going to be 7 points of damage, but you do have to make an injury roll on the second one. This is all happening super fast, and we're not actually in. This is just their stalkery surprise on you guys, and then we can jump into combat.
So where do I take? Can I take knockback in this?
On the second one, you can take it on the knockback because the first one was like utter surprise. I'm going to say that one's going to go through. The second one, so you do knockback on that. That's 3 damage, but you still need to roll an injury test. So I think you take a total. I think Gilly, you end up taking a total of 17 between the 2 hits, and then make an injury test.
Let me find that. Wound severity table, or
No. Just you
had
make
injuries.
Make a protection roll. So you're gonna roll a D12. Let me take a look. See what you got.
D12. I have 2 armor, so
Okay, so it's a D12 and 2 D6s.
Okay.
And let me know what you roll.
I got a 10, 20. I got a 10 and 2 5s.
Okay, so you are fine on your protection roll, but you did take the 17 points of damage.
So I have 5 endurance.
Okay. Wait, what? Why do you only have 5 endurance?
I just took 17.
Oh, now you do. I was going to say, I thought you only had, I'm like, what? Okay.
Yeah.
And the rest of you hear from the outside the pains of Gilly and the sound
this
of
horrific scream.
as like this cacophony of violence happens maybe 10 feet away from you guys. We'll go ahead and we'll do structured here now. And Gilly, I'm going to say you are right up in that biz. Okay. So the rest of you are inside. It's a 6 foot tall. I don't think anyone's going to have any trouble getting out, so we can go ahead and do that. But what would everyone be doing in the immediate aftermath of that sound?
Unsheathing
rush
your
out.
sword and running.
Yeah, charge out with the axe.
Okay. So everyone starts charging out. Gilly, you come out as you burst through. You see Gilly in the ground, like literally in the ground, and she has been smashed into it. Mud, that black mud kind of covering her, blood on her face. And you see what looks like about a 15-foot tall troll standing over top of her, naked as the day it was born. You can see scars galore. You can see there are sections of its skin where it's almost kind of pierced its jaw, what looks like antler and bone. And you can see it's got in its hand what looks like just a giant rock. And you can see there's blood dripping down from it, fresh blood, where it's just crashed onto Gilly. Let me get your stances.
Forward.
Forward.
Okay. All of you just charge into forward. Okay.
Yeah, we're in defense of Gilly.
Okay. Gilly, I'm going to say that if you want to scramble away to get into range, that's fine. I'm going to say, though, it'll probably take you an action to do so. So
Yeah, because I did knock back, so I still need to stand
Right.
up.
Okay, perfect. All right. So
Yeah.
we'll say for this first round, you are not necessarily in it. I'm going to say opening volleys have already happened. It did get the jump on you guys. And then we will go ahead and move in. You guys should be able to set your stances now. Okay. So yeah, whatever order you want, the three of you are there. How do you want to handle this?
I will swing Black Fang.
Go right
okay.
ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Reniel.
Can I go first?
Absolutely.
I was going to try to do intimidate foe.
Okay, go right ahead.
See if this works. Because I was working on my a little bit. I hope this works. So I've got favored, and I've got just the one, and I'll use an audience for another. Let's see if you can turn this dice luck around. There we go. That's a Gandalf. And no additional successes. So let me read Intimidate Foe. And the success, the enemy's morale has shaken, and all opponents at might 1 are made weary on their next attack roll.
What was the level of your success?
Just a regular success.
It is ineffective. As you start shouting at this thing, it looks like it's about to swing at Gilly once more. Instead, it will turn towards you, and it will lean down so that its antler-pierced jaw is right over top of yours, and it will just say, and you can see all sorts of these tiny little flecks of meat and animal fur come flying out and coat your face, as it is not a might 1 creature.
Yeah, as I was reading it, I was like, damn.
You had to get. I think if you would have gotten a great success, it would have affected it. But
yeah,
because
I was so excited by the Gandalf that
Sorry.
I didn't get any extra.
Okay. So that's a Reniel. Who is next?
Yeah, I'll swing Black Fang now.
Go for it. This has a parry of 2, so it'll be a plus
Parry
2
of
to your
2.
attacks.
Got that. So I hit with a single success.
Okay. Single success.
That
okay.
is 6 damage.
6 points of damage. Let me check its abilities. Anything you can do. Okay. Yeah. Just 6 points. Yeah, it's fine. Okay.
Yeah, that's all
So,
I got.
yeah,
I didn't get any
it's
extra successes.
Screaming at Aurinial. It ignores you for a moment. You just take Black Fang and you just slash it right across like its leg as you stand behind it. Floy, what would you like to do?
Yeah, I'm going to test out Kobar's cleaver on him. Slashes his shins.
Nice. Very nice. This is the two of the dwarves go to town on the legs.
Like shin splints.
Oh, man. I love trolls. Trolls are a lot of fun. They're not
That's a
very
Gandalf
complicated.
Extraordinary success.
Okay.
Hey.
Oh my god.
So I'll do double heavy blow for 21 damage.
Let me roll for injury first.
Okay.
All right.
And
so
Jeff, you got 4
I saw
donations
that.
there.
I saw
Oh my
that.
gosh.
I know exactly how I'm going to use them too.
In addition to all of the Saurons that we've been handing over all night.
All right. Not a bad roll. It's a 19 on my protection roll. How's that do against the injury rating of your
Injury
weapon?
20. So you'll pick up an injury.
It will take an injury. Let's see. Okay, it'll take an injury. It's still up, but it will in fact take that injury. How much total damage was it?
21.
Okay, so 21. It's 27 points. You've done it so far. Okay. Then Aurinial. What would you? Actually, no. Aurinial already went. And Gilly, you're scrambling the way to get out of the way.
Yeah, she stood back up and
Okay. I was just given a bunch of stuff. I'm going to go ahead and tap into one of them complications. As Gilly, you're scrambling. You go to get up, you're fumbling you got black mud all over you. You're fumbling to kind of get the bow out. And you hear, and you feel the earth kind of shake and the mud just sort of move around on the ground. And when you look back, you can see standing about 5 feet behind you is another one of these massive trolls. As there are now 2 in the fight.
No.
Okay.
I will shake my fist ineffectually at that one too.
Okay. I will let's see who is going to charge at though. You're so small that it might not even see you. As you are just scrambling around the mud. It will go out. Renial, actually. Your shaking of the fist apparently was not as ineffectual as you think, as this one. And along the way, it kind of scoops up what looks like this piece like this giant log, and it comes, and it's going to smash down right on top of Renial. So this one's going to take. I'm just going to take 2 shots at Renial.
Okay.
All right. It's not going to get favored anymore, but I will burn a hate to get an extra die. And you're in forward, so I get an extra die there.
Yep.
Okay. I got 1 6. Oh, I'm plenty good. It's 18 to 24, 28 to hit. 1 6. I'm just going to do a heavy blow. 15 points of damage. On the first attack. Second attack.
Hold on. Sorry, just a quick question, and this is probably why you were asking earlier and I missed this. So I have endurance loss at some point since we've been traveling. So
you guys slept at Gilly's. You guys would have been full up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure.
No, you guys slept at the kettle grasses. That's a safe. That's a full rest. It's fine with me.
Okay. Sorry. I just wanted to make sure if that was or
that's fine.
So
I'm about
the
to
first
kill
one,
you, so I'm okay with it.
The first one was 15, you said?
15 points, yeah.
All right. I'll take that one.
Okay. The second one, as it swings once more with this nasty looking mud soaked log, will swing down at you, Aurinial. This one's going to be 21, 25, 27, 29 to hit. I do have a piercing blow, and I have an extra 6. So it's going to be 15 more points of damage, and then make an injury roll. Oh, look at her fake coughing. Look at her fake coughing to try to get out of her character dying. Look at her. Look at her. That's not real. Don't believe anything she's saying there. Don't let her gaslight you guys.
Have some sympathy, Jeff. My goodness.
Sorry, that was a 15 you said?
Oh, so 15 points of damage again. As I'm going to spend my 6 on the heavy blow.
I'm going to knock back on that.
Okay. So take 7,
Leave
but
me with
also
4.
you also need to make a protection roll.
I'm just going to roll that off the sheet.
Okay.
I rolled it on the sheet, got an extraordinary success.
Okay, so you don't take the wound, you do roll away. There are now 2 trolls in the fight. One of them, the one that Griffin spawned, is still in. The other one hasn't gone, has 1 attack. It has taken a wound. It's going to choose then between its dwarf choices. It's going to pick Daggett. I'll burn a hate. You're also in forward. Okay. Oof. That's not as good of a roll. 8.
I chose forward when there were 3 of us on this thing, though. So can I take that back now?
21. Okay.
Yep, that hits.
Okay. I rolled a 1 on the feet, but I did roll a 6. So it'll be the 1 attack that it swings. I'll use the hammer attack. So it's going to take that big rock and smash it right down on you, Daggett, as it wreathes back in pain from where you and both Floy. That's 15 points of damage as I will heavy blow with my 1/6. And that's its turn. So there are now 2 in the fight. Let me add the second one.
I am weary.
Okay. You guys messed up the first one, but it's still up. What do you guys want to do? Next round.
Aurelial is recovering from knockback.
Okay. Gilly, you're into the fight now, I'm assuming ranged. Okay. Floy and Daggett, are you going to remain in forward stance, or are you going to get out of it like cowards?
I'm going to remain in forward.
I'll stay forward.
Okay. You guys are up first, the 2 of you. There's 2 of them. Both Gilly and Aurelial have suffered big time hits. Daggett, you've suffered one yourself. What do you guys want to do?
I'd like to swing at the one that we already hit.
Go right ahead.
That's still just a regular success. I can't roll a 6 for the life of me.
Okay. Go for it.
So
Roll your
that's
damage.
6 damage.
6 again? All right. Chipping away. And once more, as it removes the rock, your brains are now splattered over top of it. You keep enough of them to realize you can thrust out again and slash at the tough hide this creature has. Floy.
Yeah, I'm going to continue follow-up striking the same one.
Go for it, man.
It'll be a regular success for 7
Okay.
damage.
7 more. All right. This one's still up. These things are sturdy creatures. All right. So, Gilly, Aurelial, you were just getting up, right? Was there anything else you were going to do?
No, I think that's all I can do this round.
Okay, Gilly, what do you want to do?
I'm gonna shoot at the one that's injured.
Okay. Okay, so the one that Daggett is sort of going at here, yeah?
Yeah. Can I
Actually, both
have a
of them
dice mo?
You certainly can. We also have enough for advantage if somebody wanted.
Yeah.
Great success.
Okay.
Or is that extra? I got two extra 6s. So extraordinary.
That's extraordinary. Okay. All right. Let's see. So give me. So what's
so
what's
my
the
10
damage?
stat is a 10. So does that hit for injury?
Yeah.
For piercing?
I would have to roll. I'd have to roll. All right. I will burn a hate for that to get an extra. Oh boy, that's a good roll. 26 on my protection roll. No
yeah,
injury.
my injury is 16.
What's the damage?
So then I'm gonna do heavy blow. So for 12.
12 total. Okay. Yeah, this thing, you have worn through this thing pretty fiercely, but it is still up. These trolls are huge and strong. But you see an arrow just managed to catch it like right at the perfect spot in the neck, and it roars out in pain. But not yet. And it kind of it's reaching back, like, because it, like, wherever you had just struck it was a very good spot, but not to the point where it's actually dead. Okay. Then it's their turn. So this is probably the last swing this one will ever make in its life. The question is, which one of these dwarves is the recipient? Let's figure it out. It's gonna be Daggett again. Burn a hate.
I can take it.
That's a lot of ones and a lot of sixes in that roll. Let's see. It's 20 on the dot.
Yeah, that gets me.
Okay. So I'm going to... Yeah, it's just going to be... I mean, I rolled a 1 on the feet die again, so I'm just going to heavy blow twice. So this is going to be a total of 23 points of damage for the swing.
I will knock back on that one.
Okay. So Daggett, you go rolling off as this one tries once more with that rock in its hand to smash you into bits. It catches your leg as you go kind of somersaulting away, thinking of rural Gilly perhaps. But you live to fight another day.
I'm down to 2 endurance.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
The other one then has only one target, and that will be Floy. And I will burn its stuff. Okay, no 6s, but I did... Oh no, 9's not good enough, actually, for this weapon. Just a regular hit. So first attack is just a regular hit, 7 points of damage, Floy.
All right.
And then the second attack, also going to burn a hate. All right, got 1 6. Jeez. 12, 17, 23, 24. I'll burn the 1 6 on a heavy blow, so that'll be a total of 15 points of damage.
All good.
And that is their turn.
I am weary.
You guys hear something. Gilly, maybe you're the first to hear it. You hear ruffling in the brush. You see the ground kind of moving about. You see the mud once more. And you hear the sound. Roof, roof, roof. And you see bursting through the brush. You see Hooper. And then Quint, and kind of running after is Hollis Oakstout. He's got some kind of crude looking weapon in his hand. Looks like a club of some kind. And he comes charging in. And he's like, "You impatient twat, I'm gonna get you." And he comes kind of charging in at this point, joining the fray. But we've been playing a little long, I think, for us. So I think we're going to end with Hollis and Hooper and Quint joining the scene as my voice is starting to go on me. I can feel it. So I think I'm going to call it there for the night.
Hollis to the rescue.
He's not that strong.
You need it.
Yeah, we need to protect Hollis.
He's not that strong.
You're a liability, Hollis. Get out of here.
Leave the
So
dogs,
Hollis
though.
in front of
Leave
him.
the dogs.
So we have 3 of us that have less than 5 endurance.
Yeah,
I
but
have
just-
5.
Yeah,
I have
just so you
4.
guys know, that was a you guys did hit your Sauron levels
Yeah.
with all of those, which triggered the ambush. Obviously, this was a potential combat, but I triggered the ambush, and then I used the audience die to add the second.
Don't try to hide behind mechanics. We know you're a killer GM. It has nothing to do with the rules of the book.
Name all of the characters I've killed in this campaign.
Sorendir.
Sorendir, right? Exactly. Who really
So
killed?
you're just
Sorendir,
coming after
though?
me, is what it is. Okay, I see.
Who really killed Sorendir?
That was me. That was
Steven
me.
did.
Ooh,
Steven
indeed.
Okay, so a little bit of a side quest session here has led to a very tough fight with 2 very angry, large hill trolls. who are they're gonna mess you up. But hey, good news, you found Hollis, so that's good, right?
As we die, we're like, oh, we found you.
It's like, hey, we wanted to talk to you. That's great. I'm glad you're here. All right, let's close it down, and we'll pick up on that fight because it's a new round. So we'll pick up on a brand new round since they just went with your new friend, your old friends showing up. I'll pick on that next time. So let's do some closing plugs. Monday, we should be back for Horror on the Orient Express. So I think I have every intentions of running that on Monday. So you can see Melissa and I in that. Tuesday, that would normally be Steven's night. Steven, you want to say anything about Forbidden Lands?
Yeah, Tuesday we're planning on Forbidden Lands. As long as my voice stays here, I will be running, and we'll be picking up where we left off after they invaded a warren of rat folk that were a bit of a cult. So we'll see how that goes.
Fantastic. Next Friday is a Conan week. So our buddy Aaron, who is in that Forbidden Lands game, he's going to step into the GM seat, which would be weird. He's going to sit down in the GM seat, and he's going to run some Conan for us. And then we'll be back a week from today with episode 49 for One Ring, as we're getting very, very close. And then our plan right now, is we will actually have a week off on the 18th, but we'll be back on the 25th. The 25th is what we're planning to be our 50th. I'm going to do a couple giveaways from our friends at Norse Foundry and from our friends at Free League, who have agreed to give us some goodies for some One Ring specific goodies to give away. We'll have some more details about that between now and then, but mark your calendars, get ready. And there's some giveaways. There's some really good stuff. So get ready for that. Mark your calendars and come back. But thank you to everyone who hung out tonight. We're sorry we didn't go as long as normal. It's just we're getting back into it. We really we don't want to push it too much here. So we'll be back again on Monday. We're gonna raid somebody. So follow the raid, and we'll catch you next time. All right. So bye-bye.
See you.
Bye.